eclipses, once thought of as mysterious, magical, or even religious events, today we understand them to simply be infrequent but predictable events in the regular cycle of moving celestial objects in the sky. A solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, and thus obscures or covers all or part of the sun's disk in the sky. To fully understand a solar eclipse, there are two paths in the sky we need to identify. The first path is called the ecliptic. It represents the path the sun makes against the background stars throughout the year. The second path is the moon's orbit around our Earth. As the moon orbits the Earth, it passes through the familiar phases: new moon, first quarter, full moon, third quarter, and then back to new moon. As we can see from Earth, during the new moon phase, the moon is in the same part of the sky as the sun, thus potentially obscuring the sun to the Earth. There is one other factor that comes into play. Notice the moon's orbit is not aligned with the ecliptic. It is tilted by 5 degrees. Most of the time, the moon is slightly above or below the ecliptic, and we simply don't see the moon. But when the paths line up just right, and the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic during the phase of new moon, the moon's disk will move in front of and block out all or part of the sun's disk. A partial eclipse occurs when the moon's disk covers only a part of the sun's disk. A total eclipse occurs when the moon's disk completely covers the sun's disk. The moon is clearly not as big as the sun. In fact, if the sun were a hollow ball, it would take 64 million moons to fill it up. But the sun is much farther away from the Earth than the moon. While the moon is a mere 240,000 miles away, the sun is 93 million miles away. So the moon's apparent size in the sky is almost exactly the same as the apparent size of the sun. That is, they appear to be the same size in the sky to an observer on Earth. Eclipses occur because of these interesting geometric relationships between sun, Earth, and moon. As seen from the moon, a solar eclipse occurs when the shadow of the moon falls on the Earth. This shadow lands on the Earth as a very narrow pathway. An observer must be in the shadow path to see the total solar eclipse. It's a truly spectacular sight. During the total phase of a total solar eclipse, you can see the eclipse without special filters or eye protection. There is a third kind of solar eclipse. The moon does not orbit the Earth in a perfect circle, but in an ellipse. So, sometime during its orbit, the moon is closer to the Earth than average, and sometimes it's farther away. If a solar eclipse occurs when the moon is at or near its farthest distance from the Earth, called the apogee, the moon's disk appears slightly smaller than the sun's disk. At this time, what would normally be a total solar eclipse turns out to be what we call an annular eclipse. Solar eclipses occur almost every year, with most years offering 2 eclipses. But because the path of totality is so narrow, Seeing a total eclipse of the sun from a specific location on Earth is truly a rare event. On May 20th, 2012, there will be an annular eclipse of the sun. The path of annularity is only about 200 miles wide. Observers must be within this path to see this ring of fire. A cautionary note: since this is not a truly total solar eclipse, special eye protection must be worn during the entire eclipse event. For hundreds of miles north or south of this path, observers can still enjoy a partial solar eclipse of varying percentages of partiality. Greater coverage close to the central path, and lesser coverage as we move further away. Eclipses. For some, it is a once-in-a-lifetime event. For others, it is the itinerary for an annual vacation. In either case, they are a wondrous and beautiful result of the interesting but predictable dance between the sizes, distances, and orbits of Sun, Earth, and Moon. Join us next time for another Your World in a Minute from Starlight Express.